So moving on to another great business, Google Alphabet, and their stock is up 1.92. This stock has been a stock that I really love investing in stocks for examples like this, or I should say to participate in opportunities like this, which is the market really doubted Google Alphabet for a period of time here in 2025. It was a great time to accumulate shares, which I did. And Google is the second most valuable position in my portfolio. And then the market kind of realized, well, we're wrong about the Department of Justice, and Gemini is now the number one most downloaded app on the Apple store. Uh, Gemini is doing great. Their Gemini AI app is really, really good. I found myself probably using it every time that I'm working. I'm probably using Gemini now because it does provide value, and it's beginning to reshape my behavior. Now, back to the stock, this thing just really rose nicely. This thing was lagging for months, and then all of a sudden it just took off, and it's up almost 50%. And in 3 months, 4 months. So it's been a really, really nice shooting up stock in my portfolio. These guys are $3.15 trillion in market cap. They're bigger than Microsoft, $371 billion in revenues. P/E ratios quite a bit lower than Microsoft, 27. For an exceptional company, I don't think that's expensive. Tiny little dividend, strong buy, fairly priced according to analysts. Again, let's look at an example of an exceptional business looking at the income statement. And when you look at a company's resume to the marketplace with numbers involves an income statement. How is the business performing this year based on how many customers are buying the product or service? Are they growing the number of customers? Are they selling more products? Are they able to raise their prices? Do they have pricing power? Do they make lots of money or do they lose money? All those things are in the income statement. Balance sheets like your credit history. Balance sheet represents Google Alphabet's been around more than 20 years. Over those 20 years, had they been like, if you were to look at a household, is it a saver? Do they invest? Do they accumulate wealth? Do they accumulate lots of value on that balance sheet? Cash flow. Are they able to manage their business in a way where they're just always producing excess cash that they can invest, that they can have for the business to work with? So that's the true profile of a business is in these financial statements. Everything else could be useful, but it's just words. Could be very useful, but I'm just saying that you'll probably hear 100 stories on Google Alphabet. None of them probably as important as looking at their financials. So when we look at the financials for Google, as well as any company we're going to look at, you see the top line revenue is a big number, 371, growing at 13%. So let's get our heads around that number. So in a year, they'll grow more than $40 billion in revenue. That's just growth. That's a very good sized company on its own. So the organic growth for Google is exceptional. And when we look at the profits, that's great. You're growing. The free cash flow, $66.7 billion, slightly below Microsoft, which was at 71. This one's at 66.7. And it went down from the full year of 2024 because they're putting so much money in that data center. So they're creating $67.7 billion of additional cash that's going to that balance sheet. They can buy back shares. They could acquire businesses, like they acquired a cybersecurity business. I think they paid $20-30 billion. Well, that's kind of like, at home, you're like, hey, I'm going to buy a new car, but I don't know that. Yeah, I guess so. You're going to buy a car. And maybe it's 5 months of work. That's basically what they're going to pay for the cybersecurity business. They make so much cash, they could acquire businesses like that, and they don't really have to go into debt. It'd be like paying cash for a car. That's a kind of capital or kind of cash flow that these guys are producing. Almost 59% gross margins on a massive business, profit margin of 31%. Free cash flow margin is down because they're investing in that data center. So again, we're looking at an exceptional business. And when we look at small caps, this is the framework that we want to kind of see if those businesses will ever become. Because if they're going to become the next Google, Microsoft, or Meta, and we can see that, boy, that's a really good investment. I think we're going to see some smaller caps in a bit. I think DEFT we're going to look at later, Mara, and then I'm not sure about OGN. I think they're a kind of old school healthcare company. So this is a really, really good business showing its value through those cash flows. We have 43 analysts covering it, and there's probably a little more of an argument here where some analysts are saying this thing's way overpriced, and some analysts are saying this thing can go higher, and collectively fairly priced. Let's look at their forecast. They're going to keep growing by more than 10% for the next couple of years. They will be above $500 billion in 2028. Their profits are going to expand, and their PE, if it doesn't go anywhere from a stock price perspective, it'll go down. I don't think that's going to happen. I think their PE should be between 25 and 30. So what I think is going to happen is their stock price is going to go up. I happen to believe that Google Alphabet will be the most valuable company on the exchange. I just feel that their business is so darn strong. Search continues to grow. We're on YouTube here. YouTube is the #1 streaming platform on earth, continues to grow faster than any other platform from a percentage standpoint of the major platforms, which means they're just leaving everybody further behind. They have a cloud business that is the third biggest cloud business in the market. They're very strong in AI. I always giggle when I hear stories of people saying, oh yeah, Google is falling behind on AI. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't, I can't fathom that idea because they were doing AI before AI was cool. And they have very strong, a very strong large language model. They have a lot strong technologies. They have so many things going for it when it comes to AI. And that it's, I mean, I create videos on Google. You can look at them on my channel. So this business is really set to really go higher, in my opinion. What are the charts telling you on Google Alphabet, Daryl?
This one's going to be really busy because I've been analyzing the heck out of this one. But before I do that, everyone type in your year-end price target for GOOG, just so I can see what you guys are thinking, because I'm going to tell you what mine is here pretty soon. So this a little bit has a little bit more data on it than we're typically used to seeing in my charts. So let me explain this a little bit. The purple, the darker purple area that you see here, those are called Bollinger Bands. And this inner one, this darker purple, is set to 2 standard deviations away from the 20-day moving average. And then the pink, the lighter pink or purple color, is set to 3 standard deviations away from that 20-day moving average. So if you're not a statistics nerd, then let me show you what these actually mean. So if you have a standardized bell curve of your data, 1 standard deviation will cover about 68% of the data observations. So if you collected 100 points of data, about 68 of those would be within one standard deviation of the average. If you're 2 standard deviations away, then you capture 95% of the data. And if you're at 3 standard deviations, you capture 99.7% of the data observations. So if you look at that in these 2 standard deviations, you can see that if you're capturing 95 to 99% of the data, most of the time the prices should fall within those bands, and it expands. The standard deviation expands as the volatility increases. So anyway, I had those on there because I wanted to watch when, for instance, the DOJ found them guilty of whatever they were charging them with, but we're not going to require them to sell off Chrome. We had a 9% jump that day, which took it out of both the, let me zoom up here, which took it out of both of those standard deviations. So it actually exceeded that and then came back within it. So I just wanted to get an idea of what was going on with the standard deviations. Then the next thing that I did, because I actually started buying on May the 9th. I started buying into Google about right here.
Nicely done, sir.
And I had these downtrend lines. And initially, when I was back here doing this analysis, I had one downtrend line. And as long as it was going to break above that, then I just continued buying. And then I had another downtrend line as we got to this peak. And when it broke above it, it was kind of a head fake because it did come back down. But once it broke out, it was a good time to buy. I like these breakouts like this. And then we had another one as I got, over to June and almost into July, I had a downtrend line and it broke above that. And it just continued to progress until we finally broke above this high. That's this blue line here. And then there's another trend line matching these two peaks. So at this point, I probably need to modify this slightly just to extend this out a little further because it looks like we just are in the process of breaking through it again. So we're trading above a 20-day moving average. Let me zoom in here. Probably be in fact, what I'll do is I'll just go to like 3 months, a little easier to see. So the 20-day moving average is sitting right in the middle of these Bollinger Bands. So we're trading above that. We're trading above an upward sloping 50-day, which is also within the 2 standard deviations, the Bollinger Band. And then we have a 200-day sitting around 192. That's about 38% above or below where we're sitting on the current price. So I mentioned in Microsoft that we were not as far extended as gold. Here we're extended about as much as gold. So
Excellent.
Let's go back to a year. We do have an RSI that's starting to get back into an overbought condition. One concern that I have here that I'm watching is we do have a downtrend on that. So that means there's less momentum as we're getting to higher prices. We also have a PPO that is losing momentum as we're getting higher prices. So that is something to keep an eye on. But look at the accumulation over the past year. We're at a 52-week high. And the money flow has been positive since June the 26th. So let's see. I only see one, just you put in an estimate.
Yeah.
Is everybody awake out there or what?
Well, I just kind of will go with mine. I have a question for you.
Okay.
So looking back, so buying Google Alphabet in May was a great move, and kind of like looking back, what led you to that point of buying? Kind of retrace your process so we can learn something from it.
Well, I was watching this downtrend line, and it had tried to break above it. I can't remember exactly what happened on May the 7th. We took a pretty big fall there, about 7.5%. And then a couple days later, I saw it at about 154, but the prices were increasing, and I just believe that it could break above this point. So I don't know how many purchases I've made, probably 7 or 8. This one was probably pretty small with a tight stop on it. And then let me show you one other thing here, because as you've heard me say many times before, I do have a process that I follow pretty strictly. And I'm going to put together a video on this someday. I've been collecting data for many months on this, but this is the Google price. So this was May the 9th. It came down and almost tested this chandelier exit line here. But since I bought, I started watching this chandelier exit, and you notice that it keeps going up as well. I had one day here where it actually crossed below the chandelier exit, which would have told me to trim. I actually had a sale in on that day, and it failed to execute, which was a good thing because the next day it was right back above the chandelier exit. And you can see that it hasn't stopped since the Friday, October 10th, when we had the big sell-off. It dropped down below the chandelier exit again. So as long as it's staying above the high water mark of the chandelier exit, which I'm going to have to increase a bit today because I can see it's at 249.32, and my orange line is at 244. So the price is increasing enough today to raise my sell point up to 249.
Excellent.
So that's
Nicely done.
that's what keeps me in a stock. As long as it doesn't fall back through these chandelier exits, then I'll stay in it.
Very good. Very good. So, looking at the value of Google Alphabet, and I put my price target at 317 by the end of the year. I think we're
Okay.
really looking to get so the market's already really expensive, and the market's going to go higher. It's just the news is like just so darn positive, right? And structurally much positive. You get rid of the China risk, you get lower interest rates, and they're going to stay low. They're going to go lower. It's just the president wants a Fed Reserve chair that is going to push rates lower. That just helps asset prices. They go up. And the strength of the Google AI business is beginning to be revealed. I always chuckle when you hear, oh, OpenAI is doing this. So then Google trades lower. And it's like, yeah, I guess like OpenAI more recently launched their browser Atlas only on the Safari operating system, by the way. And that's not it PC is more prevalent. And it's like, let me know when they get to 100 million users of Atlas, because Chrome is installed on billions of PCs and devices. Um, they have they need to catch up over the next 10 years. It's not a threat. It's a threat if they were to like get maybe to 20% market share or something. Back to the stock price. I think the stock is worth 317 as I speak. When they announce on Wednesday, this valuation could change up or down. But this stock has just been on fire this year. And I think it's going to go up at least to $300 a share by the end of the year, my expectation, just with all this good news that's happening. Of course, we could always be surprised. We go around a corner and there's some negative story, substantial negative story for the economy or something that could bring asset prices down. But I think Google is really set up well. I'm glad I own as much of Google that I own. And I really look forward to Wednesday. This is going to be, of the 5 earning reports that we're going to look at, I'm focused on all of them, but Google and Amazon will tell us so much. Google tells us what's going on in stream, search, AI, cloud infrastructure. There's just so much revealed in the earnings. So that one I'm going to study. I'm going to talk about. We're going to stream on Wednesday. We're going to do a watch party on Google. I'll make a video on Google as well as Meta for the community and release it just to community members. And it's just a fascinating company, making me lots of money. Everything's good with my Google investment. Glad I'm in it.
So I have a 283 price target by the end of the year, and that's just based on the formation of this little cup here. So I'm just measuring down and then adding that back to the rim here. That gets me a 283.
Okay.
And one other thing I want to mention is we had a bullish crossover in the PPO, even though it's been going negative, it's in bullish territory, and we had a bullish crossover.
Nice.
And another thing that's supportive of the price is when we did have the pullback on April or October the 10th, we still had an RSI of 47. That's as low as it got. So I'm pretty supportive of what I see with the Google charts at the moment.